So we're gonna have a quick story time about the issues that I've had on the track, both times with this car, where I'm at with them, the go forward plan, and give people a little visual context uh, for what I've seen. So prior to buying this car, literally right before I was supposed to fly down to Florida to pick it up, the guy I was buying it from called me up and he said, "Yeah, there was a little puddle of oil in the driveway, so I took it in to get it looked at." Now, mind you, our deal was done, and this threw a major kink in the plans. So I go, "All right, let me know how it goes." And I had no idea about the AOS or any of that shit. I knew about the IMS, and that was about it. And he calls me back and he goes, "Yeah, the this AOS is bad, and the shop's got to drop the motor to replace it." And so I saw opportunity, and I go, "All right, well, if they're gonna do that, let's rework out the deal, and while it's out, let's have them do the rear main seal and put a new clutch in it, and just a ton of work." So literally a week before I picked this car up, it had like 8 grand worth of work, of which a new AOS was part of that package deal. So once I had learned more about the car and realized the AOS was one of these issues, I kind of thought, great. I didn't even really mean to address it, but through fate, it failed at the right time for me, and I got a new one in there. And sure enough, on the street, never had an issue. This car never leaked a drop of oil. It was great. I pulled the intake off the throttle body and plenum a couple of times. Never more than just a thin coating of oil, which I've seen on tons of intakes that pretty much everyone I've ever taken apart had some amount of oil in it or oil residue. So I never really thought anything of it. Fast forward, prepping the car for the track, put this deep sump kit on it. I'm trying to do shit that's going to make it reliable because it's relatively fast and fun, and I just want it to run and be able to beat on it with as little risk as possible, which there is always inherent risk in taking your car to the track. So, obviously I'm cognizant of that, but minimize the risk. And put the deep sump kit in it. Recommendations are from the people that make it, if you bring your car to the track, you want to run it low on oil on the dipstick at least. You've got 2 more quarts of oil in there, so you don't really have to worry about it. So I get through with this deep sump install, and the reality was for me, because I'm an idiot, there were I finished it up and it had maybe a half a quart too much oil in it. So it was like 3 quarters full on the dipstick. And I'm going to the track like a couple days later. And the reality was, I thought, do I pull some oil out or do I just leave it and see what happens? And I thought, you know what? I've had a couple disasters associated with this install. Fuck it. I'm not going to change it. If I had another disaster trying to pull a little oil out, there was no recovery and I was going to miss the track day. So that's my, uh, blanket statement on why I did what I did. But sure enough, I go to the track day, have an awesome time, get home, give the car a once over, see, leaked a little oil on the skid plate. Well, I guess that's probably because I had it a little overfilled with oil. Next time I go to the track, I'll make sure I rectify that. And so I did. And I kind of thought that hopefully, once the oil is at a proper level, that situation will be addressed. Well, it wasn't. And not only did I have a small leak after the second track day, but I had people that told me, "Hey, yeah, it blew a huge cloud of smoke at startup," which I didn't see. That was right before my second session. And my dad was at the track watching. He said, "Yep, I saw some smoke coming out of the back of the car at moments." And then I get the pictures from the track day, and I see, yep, there's a cloud of smoke behind me in that one. And I had the leak to boot. So, yeah, there's an issue more than just it was overfilled, because it wasn't the second time. So that's kind of a bummer. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it cost me a session, but, you know, worse things definitely could have happened. So now we go on to investigation, and then what are we going to do to try to fix it. And I'll run you through some of the investigation. Now that I have the car up in the air, this is a good time. So we're going to get underneath it and I'll show you some of what I saw. Okay, so welcome to under the car. So I'm going to do everything with my head towards the front of the motor. So the top of your picture towards the front of the car, so that you have some idea of where we are. So this is the general spot where the oil was leaking. So it was coming down this left head, and I ended up finding it right on that seam where the skid plate jets down. So that was where the oil was, and what I did was follow it up. So we're gonna go and look up here, and hopefully you can see that corrugated pipe up there. So you can see the runner for the bank on the intake manifold, and then right there where the light is pointing is the corrugated pipe that the oil was leaking down and then running down this head. That pipe going over to the other side of the car is running from the AOS, which you can see right up there. That's that tube looking contraption, and if you can't tell from where we're looking, it is a huge pain in the ass to get out and replace. So yeah, we got that in front of us. So anyways, that's the view from underneath the car, and you can see I got most of that oil cleaned up and remediated, and it's not leaking anymore. So now we're going to go up to the top of the car, and we're going to look at really why this could have been a pretty bad situation. Okay, so we're up at the top of the car now, and everything's put back together. But to give you the general rundown, I did have a pre-existing issue. My oil fill tube was cracked, and that was creating a vacuum leak, and could be part of why I didn't know that the AOS was bad the last time I tested it. That vacuum leak definitely could have thrown off my readings, but I replaced this while I had all this shit out of there. So when I removed the throttle body, I saw a thick puddle of oil inside or a thick coating of oil rather, inside the plenum back there. And I got that out and cleaned up. And what was really bad and could have been really bad is the Bank 2 intake manifold had puddles of oil in it. And I'll insert a picture so that you can see what that looks like. But had those puddles of oil decided to make their way down the intake manifold and into the motor en masse, I don't know how much room that combustion chamber takes up, but I would certainly be worried about the possibility of hydrolocking the engine. So I'm glad that didn't happen, and I think it was the right move to stop the track day early. So yeah, definitely could have been bad, but we've got everything back together, at least for the moment, before we probably have to go and take it all apart again. So that's the rundown of what we saw from back here, and hopefully that gives a little context to the story. So now I feel like there's a very high likelihood that the cause of this is the AOS. I'm not 100% sure that it is, but that's what I'm going with. So I bought some replacement parts. This what's being called the UAOS, Ultimate AOS, that a forum member on Renlist created, that really aims to mitigate some of the downfalls of the AOS. I think particularly its location and difficulty in servicing. So the component on the AOS that fails regularly is moved to a more accessible location. And I think the big one for me, the reason why I think this is the way I would go as opposed to like the Motorsport AOS, is it integrates a catch can in line. So in the event that you do have oil make its way towards the intake, the catch can is there to catch that oil before it goes into the intake and could cause a major issue. So that was really the big factor for me, was the ability to remove the oil out of the system in line before it gets to the intake. So we'll see what happens with that. I think all in all, to run the car through a couple of track nights, although not a lot of sessions, and have it perform really well with the exception of this issue, I'm pretty happy with. And this is something that, through failure or whatever, is something that probably a number of people will have to address if they bring their 996s to the track. So I wanted to get this video out there so that people kind of had an idea of, well, yeah, it's real, it happens, and what I figure out along the way to hopefully resolve it. I'll make sure to share with people, because at least on YouTube, you have to go to a forum really to get this information. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't frequent a place like Renlist and are more apt to look up a solution or an answer on YouTube. So I don't have solutions or answers, but I got plenty of problems. So I'll put the problems up, and as we encounter solutions, I'll make sure that I put them up as well. But it is something that you should probably be aware of if you're bringing your 996 to the track. And uh, as I come up with fixes, I'll share them with the folks that want to watch the videos. So thanks for watching.